I have been going out 30 days in a row, practicing for at least 1 hour a day, doing cold approach. In this video, I want to talk about what my results have been, the biggest takeaways I've had, the mindset shifts I've had around going out and practicing cold approach, because I had a certain perspective, and throughout the last 30 days, that perspective has continuously changed. My results have changed, and I want to talk about this for you guys so you could understand what it takes, maybe the misconceptions you may have around the whole thing, as well as some really big takeaways about how it's affected my life, my dating life, my social confidence. And I'm going to be breaking this down into 5 main steps in this video. It's all going down right now. Let's get into point number 1, which is the beginning always sucks. And it's not like I'm just starting out brand new to this. Even someone like myself, I've been doing pickup and self-development and going out doing cold approach for damn near 10 years at this point. I can say honestly though, like I have had periods where I've taken time off or slowed down because I'm focused on my business, my self-development, my relationship, all these other aspects of my life, but I never really stopped. It was kind of like I would just go out on the weekends or primarily focus on night game at different periods of my journey. But what I can say is that once I moved to Miami, I made a decision. I'm going to start going out every single day, at least for 30-45 minutes to get some daytime approaching in. And then obviously other days I go a little bit more, and on night times I'll still go out on the weekends and stuff like that. But 30 days in a row, every single day. The first thing I learned is that getting into it really did suck, even for somebody like me. Because at the end of the day, guys, momentum is huge and we are creatures of habit. So if you're not in a routine of doing something, there is going to be that friction, that internal resistance to trying to do something and incorporate it to really make it become an actual habit. Yes, at the beginning it sucked. I would say for me, the first 4 days in a row of starting the journey, day 1, 2, 3, 4, it was kind of like a, damn, like I don't really want to go out and do this thing. I felt this like, you know, a little bit of like tension. I don't want to say like heavy anxiety where I was like nervous as fuck. You know, I was like, yo, I'm going to go out and do this thing. And I definitely felt some type of way knowing that I was about to go do this thing. All right. So the beginning really did suck for the first 4 days. I would say by the end of 1 week, I was no longer even like thinking about it in the time leading up to it in the day. I would typically go out in the afternoons and do it. But I would say after 7 days in a row of doing it, it was no longer like a thing. I kind of just accepted I'm doing this thing and it was all good. And then the other thing I noticed was that by around day 7, I no longer felt like I even needed to do a warm-up approach, right? I feel like the first couple days, my first interaction was a little bit more shitty. I was a little bit more nervous in my voice. I wasn't as confident going up doing like a hard stop or doing the approach. But right around day 7 and definitely by day 14, it was almost like the first interaction of the day. I was already in the flow, like no hesitation, no nerves, nothing. I was able to just go up and confidently do that first interaction, like, you know, pretty much perfectly. Okay, so point number 1, the beginning does suck, especially when you're out of momentum, especially when you're getting into making a new routine out of this. And then also after the first week or so, the beginning doesn't really suck, and the first couple approaches doesn't even really suck. You kind of just are becoming more of that social dude, which is really nice and really rewarding. I started to really reap the benefits, I felt like, by day 7 going into that second week of it. Which brings me into point number 2. The next thing that I learned about going out and doing this every day is that it's actually not as time consuming as you think. Because somebody like me who primarily would go out and do night game and nighttime approaching, I kind of saw it as this thing of like, it's Friday night, it's Saturday night, I'm gonna go out and do the thing now. And it would become like a nighttime event, but it would take up a lot of time. And occasionally I was also drinking a little bit then too. And what I noticed is that I would still get results. I felt like I was at a very advanced level in nighttime where I could go out and really get into a solid interaction with the hottest girls in the venue, walk away with some kind of result, whether that was like a pull or a phone number or just having like a really good interaction in the nighttime. But I will admit that it did take a lot of time. I would go out for at least 3 to 4 hours on Friday night and on Saturday night. I would typically have these really late talks with my wings and my friends that I would go out with. And it really did take up a big chunk of the weekend because that carries over into your sleep of the next day. If you drank a little bit, there was some kind of like recovery period. You're not in the most optimal state the next day. And if you go out and do it 2 nights in a row, by Sunday, you're kind of fucking drained, if I gotta be honest. Now, somebody like me, I feel like personally, I have a very high level of ambition and drive and work ethic. So despite me going out at nighttime, I would still get shit done on Saturday, Sunday. You know, I would get my sleep. I would start the day a little bit later, but I would still make sure that I was getting work done. And I think that this is a misconception that dudes think that if you go out when you're out late at night, like your whole weekend's ruined. I think that's bullshit personally. I just think, hey, minimize your drinking if you're going to drink, or maybe no alcohol at all, or understand that like if you're going to go out sober and nothing's going on, call it an early night at like 12 or 1 a.m. and try to get to bed by a reasonable time so you don't really lose anything the next day. So I still like night game. I'm still really big on night game. That was like my first love when it comes to approaching and socializing and pickup and self-development, all these areas of communication and confidence. But one thing I have noticed over the last month is that, man, I gotta say, guys, I really think I'm starting to enjoy day game more than night game, honestly. And this is for a variety of different reasons. I think in terms of going out and actually meeting a girl that night and escalating and hooking up and possibly even pulling and bringing a girl home, I do think that night game is still prime for that. However, if you're talking about work ethic, routine, staying focused, hitting all your fucking goals, and maximizing that side while still working on social confidence and still getting numbers and dates, then it's daytime. And as I'm saying this, obviously you should really incorporate both, I think. Or if you're a dude who's low level at both, probably do some online dating too. But just understand that as I'm getting further and further into this, I'm starting to really appreciate daytime interactions because it just boosts your social confidence in all other areas of your life. Number two, it keeps you in a routine. That social interaction you get in the middle of your day also kind of boosts your flow state as well. Like when I come back home and I'm on my live calls, my energy and my communication is just on point because I've already been pushing myself a little bit socially. So it's a nice little break you could put in the middle of your day instead of just having caffeine and like energy drinks and trying to boost yourself back up with caffeine and stimulants. I found that actually going out for a little bit, having some social interaction kind of like reawakens you and puts you in a good mood socially for the rest of the day as well. So it doesn't take that much time. What I've noticed is I'm doing at least 30 to 45 minutes a day. And again, if I have more time, sometimes it'll be an hour. Sometimes some of these interactions will go a little bit longer. I end up doing it for 90 minutes. But if I'm really tight on the day and I got a strict schedule, I'm just doing 30 to 45 minutes. All right, I'm walking around, I'm getting my steps in simultaneously, and I'm getting some social interaction in while still getting some sunlight. So it's really not taking much away from my day at all, but I'm still hitting my goals socially and boosting my confidence on a daily basis. So for that reason, daytime interaction and doing cold approach every single day, it has a lot of fucking benefits and it doesn't take as much time as you think it does. Now let's get into point number 3, which is the idea that after doing this for 7 days in a row, almost no anxiety like whatsoever. And I kind of touched on this in the first point where I was talking about how in the beginning it sucks. But what I've realized is that after doing this thing every single day, it just becomes part of you, all right? After day 7, it was no longer like this anxiety driven or any pressure or nervousness at all whatsoever. And by day 14, I can honestly say there's like zero anxiety. There was zero anxiety whatsoever around doing an approach or starting an interaction. If you're somebody who's never done this at all, I'm not saying you're gonna have zero social anxiety in 14 days. Now, keep in mind, guys, for somebody like me, I have been doing this for a long time, although majority of that was during the nighttime. So I will say there is some muscle memory in place. So if you're somebody who's completely brand new to this, it might not happen in 7 to 14 days. It might take a little bit longer, like 1.5x or 2x that timeline, but it still is quick. It's not years by any means. We adapt to things very quickly as human beings. As long as you have the right mind frame, the right self-talk, and you're doing things properly, within a month's time, you're really going to see a massive difference. And again, for me, 7 to 14 days removed all anxiety around the idea of having to go out and do this, as well as when I'm in real time having to go up and talk to the girl. Zero anxiety for both of those instances. And I will also add that despite having zero anxiety going in, I still finished most of my sessions with that enhanced mood boost of being in that social flow. Because initially you have a high level of anxiety, and when you're done with it, you feel a lot more relieved. You feel a lot more free. Your vibe's a lot higher. You pushed yourself socially. What I've noticed is after 14 days or so, there was still zero anxiety going in. However, I'm still finishing my sessions with that elevated mood boost and being in that social flow. So almost like no downside, all upside, which is really nice too. Also, regarding that 7 to 14 day window, you're starting to see a lot of patterns because you're doing this on a daily basis. So you're starting to recognize what are the conversational threads that I'm getting into in these interactions? What are the things I'm opening with that aren't getting a good response versus the girls actually responding positively? What's that one joke that I've been making that a lot of people are responding positively to? So in a space span of like 2 weeks or so, you're gonna start to catch on to the behavior patterns, the conversation patterns, and the talk tracks that you're using in every interaction. And that's great because everything starts to slow down now. You see the pattern, you're slowing down when you're in the interaction. You have time to think 2 steps ahead in the conversation loop. You'll catch yourself from saying that dumb thing and you start to replace it with like that good phrase you've been wanting to practice. So right at around that 2-week mark, all anxiety's gone and everything's starting to slow down in the interaction, which is really nice. I don't think most men get to experience that, probably due to the lack of consistency of them going through the motions. Because when you do it once a week, once a month, it's just such a rare occurrence that you never get to see into the subtle nuances that you would only see if you're going about doing it in your day-to-day. So if you're somebody who's been struggling with approach anxiety or getting that consistency, you want to get better with the conversation skills and like slowing things down when you're in the interaction so you can really create more attraction, guys, click the link in the description, fill out an application for an opportunity to work with me personally. More on that at the end of the video. But now let's get into point number 4 of what I've learned from doing this 30 days in a row, which is by day 21, I found myself naturally going out and doing cold approach, even when I wasn't in that block of time where I'm going out doing a cold approach. Meaning, typically I'll block out 30 to 45 minutes a day to go out and do that social interaction and push myself. But what I noticed is right around that 3rd week mark, I think it was day 22 or day 23, I just was out in my day-to-day and there was a hot girl and I went up and did a full-blown approach, got a phone number, ran a full interaction. And that was completely outside of the time I had designed to go and do the thing. What I noticed is that the first 2 weeks, it was like I set out this time to do it. I pushed myself. Cool. I felt rewarded. I went back to going about my day, but I would really be stuck in my routine because I feel like I'm just naturally introverted, full transparency. I was that video game nerd virgin loser in my teenage years and my 20s. And it really took me a long time to build the social confidence to even do what I'm doing right now. But what I did notice is that by day 22, I was going out of my way in my day-to-day to actually go and do cold approaches. Like typically what I would do beforehand is like if a girl's walking by, I would just give a compliment or say something. What I'm noticing in the last 2 weeks is like, hot girls there, I'm fully in the routine, I'm fully in the mindset. I'm almost excited. I'm looking for the hot girl because sometimes in my 45-minute block, I don't really get to see the girl that I'm really attracted to, which I'm going to get into that in the final point of this in number 5. But you don't always get to see like your dream girl or the girls you're really attracted to in that time slot, especially if you live in a place that's not a major city. So what I've noticed now is like genuinely excited when I see the really hot girl in my day-to-day, because I'm like, finally, that's the girl I've been looking for. And I'm a lot more inclined to go up and talk to her. And even today on day 30, I went out earlier, got a haircut. It was 10:45 in the morning. I was leaving my haircut and I saw a cute girl across the street. It was slightly out of my way, but I was like, yo, fuck it. I'm going to go up and talk to her because honestly, just from a distance, she had a really nice curvy body the way I like it. And I actually went up and talked to her and I had probably a 4 or 5 minute interaction. We walked across the street together 1 block and then I ended it there because of what I'm about to say in point number 5. I'm going to get into that in 1 second, but really understand, guys, that after doing this for 3 weeks in a row, you really become that guy. The process, the mindset, the routine has been internalized. And now it's at a point where not only am I like looking for it, I'm almost excited when I'm going out and doing it. And I will give a quick disclaimer. Not every day when I go to do the routine am I excited to go do the cold approach. Like yesterday, which was day 29, I was really in a low vibe. I was in a shitty mood. I had been a little sleep deprived. I was like kind of losing an hour of sleep the last couple of days leading up to it. And I felt like yesterday it really caught on. And so when I went out to go do the session, I was feeling pretty shitty. I wasn't excited for the session. There was one girl out of like the 5 that I went up to that I was genuinely attracted to that led to again, a 4 or 5 minute interaction that led to a phone number. Aside from that, I was in a shitty mood, you know, and even afterwards I was in a shitty mood. So I don't want you to think it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like, it's kind of like the gym in a sense that most days I'm excited to go to the gym. I'm like looking forward to doing the workout. I typically will leave the gym feeling better about myself. But also, if I got to be fully honest, guys, like there are days where I'm not looking forward to the gym. I'm just, you know, I'm a little bit more sluggish. I have a little bit less mental clarity and I'm like, gotta go do the thing. And even in the middle of the workout, I still never like really snap out of it. It's kind of like a 7 out of a 10 workout, 6 out of 10 workout, which happens to me. Yeah, honestly, it does. And I'll leave the gym. I feel a little bit better. I don't feel like it fixed my whole day. You know what I'm saying? I still go through the motions, but it just wasn't an amazing workout. And that's the same thing when it comes to the social stuff. Now, one thing I will mention is that despite me being in a shitty fucking mood yesterday, I actually got into a 3-4 minute interaction with a girl I thought was really attractive. It was a short one because she was literally walking into work, and it did lead to a phone number, and we are texting. So even on a shitty day with a little bit of time, I managed to actually get a result out of that's leading to a text conversation right now. And that actually brings me into the final point that I wanted to discuss. Point number 5 that I learned about going out every single day in a row is that most women are not as hot as you think. And I could honestly say this, most women I go up and I approach, guys, and I'm not out here looking for ugly women. I walk around, I'm pretty fucking picky, honestly. If you've seen what my girlfriend looks like, I like Latinas, I like ethnic looking women, or exotic looking women. And I am walking around downtown Brickell and South Beach, Miami, looking for the hot women. And what I can honestly say is that most women are not as hot as you think. And that doesn't mean that from a distance she's not hot, because what I'm trying to say is that I walk around and I'm like, oh, she seems hot. Oh, she seems hot. Oh, that girl's really hot. Or, oh, that girl actually looks like a complete bitch. You have an instant perception of somebody just by the way they're shaped, the color of their clothes, the color of the hair, the way the wind's blowing, the way they're walking. You will start to judge them. And honestly, guys, what I've noticed after doing this for 30 days in a row is that most of the girls that I think are actually hot at a glance, that the old me might be like, oh, damn, hot girl walking by, and you get nervous. What you'll notice is that if you actually go up and talk to them every day, most of these girls aren't even fucking hot. But you don't realize until you're 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes into the interaction. Honestly, even if you go up and start talking to her, some girls you'll notice the moment you start to get closer, oh wait, she's actually a lot older or aged or just not as attractive as I thought. Other girls, you'll even stop them, and now that I'm a minute into the interaction, I'm like, oh, she's not even my type. But you can't tell that until you actually go up and talk to the girl. And then there's other girls where you won't realize until you're 5 minutes into the interaction that we actually don't even vibe. Her mindset, her age, the things she's into, what she's got going on, there actually isn't that much chemistry here or commonalities here. And for that reason, I'm not even into this girl either. Okay? And I would say that that is the majority of girls that I'm going up to. It is very rare. I would say out of the 30 days, there's probably been, honestly, a handful, genuinely a handful of women, definitely not more than 10. I would probably say there's been about 5 girls that I really, really liked. 5 girls, okay? And really out of those 5, it's only been 2 I've actually been like thinking about afterwards and was honestly like excited to text them. There was 5 I went up to that were like cool. Honestly, even the other handful of those, by the next day, when I'm going out doing my next session, I'm no longer thinking about those women. Only 2 girls out of the 30 days have managed to keep a memory in my brain. Guys, I'm not even trying to say this on some cocky shit, like I think so highly of myself. I'm really not saying it from that perspective. I'm just saying that like after going out for 30 days in a row, there's 2 girls that have really even been able to occupy my brain afterwards the next day and beyond that. So that just gives you a little bit of perspective. If you guys want to talk about results, I would say typically if I go out and do 5 approaches a day, I would say at least somewhere between 2 to 4 of them I'm getting a contact info, maybe 2 to 3. At least 1 or 2 I'm not getting anything at all. Then at least 1 or 2 I could at least get an Instagram. I would say there's like 1 or 2 that want to give me nothing, and I don't want to give them anything either after, you know, talking to them or just getting rejected. And then I would say 1 or 2 of them I could probably just get an Instagram. I don't just go for Instagrams personally because my IG is really just set up for my business. And if I'm not that attracted to you, I'm not going to go further with it. And then I would say there's anywhere between 1 to 2. If it's a really good day, there'll be 3, but it's typically 1. Sometimes it's 2 where there's a better interaction that goes 10 plus minutes. And I have a good conversation with that girl and I walk away with a solid phone number. And I would even say out of those girls, let's say that happens once a day. So there was 30 days. Out of those 30, let's say, there's only been about 5 that I was genuinely excited to hang out with after. And out of those 5, there's only 2 that I even really thought about the next day, just to give you guys some perspective. So that's what we're looking at in terms of like results from daytime doing this 30 to 60 minutes a day in Miami. Now, for a dude who's not as picky as me, or for a dude who's at a lower level, or a dude who likes all types of women, I mean, you could really go even further with this thing, honestly, guys, and get a lot more numbers, get a lot more dates too. And keep in mind, that's not including going out doing that game. That's not including doing online dating or Instagram game. So if you really wanted to stack all of these on, you could have a fucking massive pipeline going on. I'm doing it on more of a low-key, optimal work routine grind mode type structure where I'm really dedicated to my business, putting in time with clients, coaching calls, my team, my social skills, my relationship, my diet, my fitness, my reading, self-development as a whole. I'm really trying to maximize those things, and I do think that going out daytime 30 to 60 minutes is a great part of that routine. But point number 5, just to bring this thing home, it's not necessarily just women aren't as hot as you think. It's really just people aren't what you think at a glance. The girl that's walking by that you think is very busy and isn't going to respond, I would say about like a third of the time, or maybe even half the time, that girl actually stops and has a conversation with. That was actually one of the girls that I just mentioned. The girl I talked to yesterday for 4 minutes, got a phone number. My initial thought was she's walking really fast, and I don't know if she's most likely not going to even want to respond. That girl stopped and actually had a conversation with me that led to a phone number. The girls sometimes that you think are bitchy or in a hurry, or they're on the phone, or they got headphones on, or they can't talk, half the time those girls actually have really good conversations. Sometimes the girls that you think are really hot, you stop them, you're 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes into the interaction, they're not nearly as hot as you thought they were. So a lot of the initial perception of what you think about somebody, good or bad, is very oftentimes invalid. And what that means is you need to do your due diligence. You need to go up and start the conversation. Otherwise, you just don't know. You don't know who's behind the door until you actually go up, knock on the door, and have the conversation with that person. All right, everything else is fear, doubt, fucking bullshit thoughts that your brain's telling you. So don't listen to that stuff. And that's also a side benefit of doing all of this stuff. I talked a little bit about the result of what I got so far out of doing this 30 days. So that's what I got in terms of results from the numbers and approaching girls. And there was also a couple polls that happened from that period as well. The other thing I want to mention though is the other benefits that I got from this, which is massive increase in social confidence. I'm just talking to fucking everybody anywhere I go now. And I was already doing that, but now I'm really doing it even more. I don't have to push myself to do it. I'm just doing it. Anywhere I go, I'm just doing it. Before it was like, okay, I'm going into the gym, I got to push myself to talk to a couple people. Now that I've incorporated doing this every day, all the other shit is just like fucking so easy. Cakewalk. You're just doing it naturally. And so it really has increased my social confidence in all other areas of my life, not just cold approach. Talking to anybody anywhere, filming YouTube videos every single day. I'm going on other people's podcasts now, and I don't feel any anxiety, any pressure to do any of that shit, man. It's like the social confidence aspect has 2x or 3x just from doing this one thing. Night game has become a lot easier too. I have zero desire to drink at all when I'm out because I'm already doing my approaches during the day-to-day. So you have no anxiety around going out and doing night game. You're already approaching. Doing night game has become so much easier. All right, so life game and night game have become a lot easier. You don't need that alcohol. You're a lot more likely to stay in your routine. There's just so many fucking benefits from this, guys. Like, I really encourage you to put aside 30 minutes a day and really get consistent with this. Now, for the dudes that are ridiculously busy, or you're making excuses, or your self-talk isn't where it needs to be, and you're justifying not doing this every day, you know what? It's all good. Everybody needs to start somewhere. And for those dudes, I would say you do it every other day or at least 3 times a week, man. But make it a fucking habit. Like, you don't need to go to the gym 7 days a week, but you do need to go at least 3 to 4 times a week. And this is the same thing. You gotta work out the muscle minimum 3 to 4 times a week for a 30-45 minute session. It's gonna change your life in all other areas. You're a lot more motivated to eat healthy when you're talking to hot women every day. You're a lot more self-conscious about your look, your physique, your diet, your fitness. All of these elements become more easy to stay disciplined on because you're doing this one thing that's a lot more uncomfortable. Going to the gym was never difficult for me. This thing, there was a little bit of resistance. So now that I'm hammering that out and it's not even a problem, everything else just becomes so much fucking easier. You could dominate your day with this thing, guys. So if you're watching this, I challenge you. I challenge you to do this 30 days in a row. Do 3 approaches 30 days in a row. Just see where it takes you, man. If you're really making excuses and you can't do it that much and you made it to the end of this video, you gotta do it minimum 3 days a week, okay? Start somewhere and then you can ramp it up. And if you wanna get better with this, guys, if you wanna get better with your approaching or social confidence, and, you know, just to get more women or more dates, I can help you with that shit, man. I've made a massive transformation over the last 12 years. I've really embodied becoming this guy. I've helped 600 plus dudes go through it too. I can help you too. Click the link in the description, book out a day and a time to have a free consultation call so we could discuss what's going on in your life and how I can help you make that transformation. Okay, you got nothing to lose. You don't need to watch more videos, man. What you need is accountability, structure, guidance, mentorship, and a community of dudes to help push you through that. And I have that for you. The call's free. Click the link in the description. That's all for this video. Let's fucking go.